Hey folks, Johnny here, Tennessee Mountain Bees. Back in the woods today, and I wanted to share another tree species with you. This is a black cherry, Prunus serotina. This is a pretty old specimen. I measured this tree at 4.5 feet high, and it was a circumference of 88 inches. Dividing that by 3.14159, that gives us a diameter of 28 inches, and multiplying that by a growth factor of 5 puts an age estimate of this tree at 140 years old. Pretty nice age for a tree in this part of the country. We generally don't see them this big here. The farther north you go, they do get larger. Very important timber species due to the quality of the wood. We're going to take a close-up look at different aspects of this tree. I really appreciate y'all tuning in. Hang around. We're going to talk about it some more. Let's take a close-up look at the bark here. This has often been described as burnt cornflakes or burnt potato chips. You can see the way this bark curls up. There's really no other tree that looks quite like it in the woods. It's real easy to identify. I've had good success over the years finding morel mushrooms under black cherry trees. I don't hear that mentioned a whole lot online, except from just a few other guys, and it may be a regional thing. Let's walk out here and take a look at some of these young leaves that are just coming out to bloom. See these yellow crownbeard stems or stickweed left over from last fall. Oh, look here, we've got the leaves coming out. They have a little bit of a red tinge when they're young coming out. You can see these racemes coming out that are gonna bloom really soon. And when these are pollinated, they'll end up there'll be berries on here and forming in a cluster called drupes. They kind of remind you of a cluster of grapes, but not as as large, not as dense. But a really important species for a variety of wildlife, not just honeybees. And as you can see, this is what's known as a successional species. They're shade intolerant, so generally you'll see them growing. Got a lady visiting us now there, but you'll generally see them growing on the edges of field areas in the woods that have been opened up. But you can see this one's got a pretty good crown spread. Nice old tree. Something that's really important to note is once the leaves once the stem is broken off, there's a chemical reaction that happens, and it causes to form cyanide in the leaves. Very deadly to livestock. Lots of cattle have died from eating these leaves. So be wary of that. We'll take a closer look of this tree throughout various times of the year. Look here, we can see we got down to 16 degrees a few nights ago. You can see some here that got burnt a little bit by that cold weather, but looks like the tree's going to be just fine. I'm sure in this part of the country, these trees are used to late cold snaps. I'm gonna find some younger versions of this tree so you can see the difference in what the bark looks like when these trees are young. And if you hadn't subscribed already, I really would appreciate it if you would. Okay, here we got a lot younger black cherry tree. You can see the horizontal lines on this bark. Those are lenticels. And I don't see any blooms on this one yet. Quite a few leaves coming out. It's only about 5 inches diameter at chest height, so it's probably only about 25 years old. But that's what they look like when they're younger. Stick around, folks. We're going to take a look at some pictures now. Hey, folks, thanks for hanging around. We're going to take a closer look at the black cherry tree here. I got some pictures for you and some additional information to share. Black cherry, Prunus serotina. I've also heard this pronounced as Prunus serotina, so you can take your pick. Black cherry is the largest of the native cherries. It's the only one that's commercially valuable due to the quality of the wood. It's native to eastern North America. Interestingly, up in Canada, it best grows at elevations near sea level. In the Appalachians, you'll see it growing at elevations as high as 5,000 feet. You'll see the best growth, however, on the Allegheny Plateau on elevations of 1,000 to 2,600 feet. That seems to be the sweet spot. This species is very shade intolerant. You'll see it growing on the edges of fields or in forest openings.
It's what's known as successional vegetation in younger forest. Several common names: wild cherry, wild black cherry is what we always called it when I was a kid, rum cherry, and mountain black cherry. Species has an average lifespan of 150 years, although some will live as long as 200 or more. The leaves and racemes come relatively early in the spring. You can see this bottom photo here showing a raceme coming out there, which is ultimately going to turn into the blooms. The blooms form later after the leaves are fully developed. A variety of insects, including beetles and various bee species, pollinate these trees. It provides a relatively early pollen and nectar source for our honeybees. I found conflicting information online regarding the quality of the honey. And so I'm real curious if anybody have any specific knowledge, please share that with us in your comments. I would really like to hear from you. And Frank Chapman Pellet's classic book, American Honey Plants from 1920, listed the black cherry tree. He called it wild cherry, which was probably the common name back in 1920. I've underlined a couple little sections here that I wanted to share with you real quick. He said, wild cherries are not often reported as a valuable source of nectar. He went on, though, to say, however, the writer has a sample of wild cherry honey sent to him from the apiary of W.S. Pangburn in Jones County, Iowa. It has a distinct cherry taste and a bright yellow color. After 2 years, it shows no trace of granulation, although subject to all changes of temperature of Iowa climate, both summer and winter. All but a few of the samples of honey in the collection have candied under similar conditions. Since in the northern states it blooms after the domestic fruits and just before the opening of white clover, it should prove of considerable value where present in quantity. So I thought that was an interesting excerpt there from Frank Chapman Pellet. You can get a free copy of American Honey Plants, as well as many other excellent books and resources that are now available in the public domain. You can get those from Strathcona Beekeepers Library. I'll leave a link to that in the description of this video. Let's take a look at the leaves now. The leaves are simple and they're alternately arranged. They have the very fine teeth on the margins. They're uniformly wide and lance-shaped. They're shiny on the upper surface and the underside is slightly paler. Generally, they're 2 to 6 inches long. The fall colors can vary considerably. As you can see here in these photos, you'll have sometimes a golden yellow, orange to reddish orange, and you'll have a variety of colors sometimes on the same tree. The pitted fruits are edible raw and can be used in wines and jellies. You'll see a variety of recipes online for this. Matter of fact, we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. This fruit has been historically used to flavor rum and brandy, and that's where the name cherry bounce came from. They're an important food source for a variety of species of birds and mammals. Black bear, possum, fox, squirrels, rabbits all love these fruit. Black cherry can be a poison hazard, though, particularly the leaves, the wilted leaves. Here's a photo from Dale Voigt of Penn State Extension Service. And you can see a black cherry tree that's been blown over in a storm there. And there's a cattle trail going right around the edge of that fence row. And it looks like all the leaves have been pretty much stripped from this tree. It can be a significant hazard to a livestock farmer. The wilted leaves contain a silogenic glycoside, and that converts to hydrogen cyanide when it's ingested. I'm going to include a link to Wayne Breslin's YouTube site. If you're interested in the chemistry, he shows you how to draw the Lewis structure for the chemical structure of hydrogen cyanide. And it's real interesting because he talks about how the shared electron valences and the specifics of the chemical structure. If you're interested in that kind of thing, you can learn more about it there. In the book Toxic Plants of North America by Burroughs and Turrell, they say as little as 1.2 to 4.8 pounds of the wilted cherry leaves can kill a 1,200-pound dairy cow. It only takes 0.18 to 0.72 pounds to kill a 180-pound sheep. You know, the pits in the cherries also contain cyanide. You know, if you can swallow a couple of those and be okay. If they're ground up, though, that would be a much higher level of cyanide. So really, it's best to avoid those, obviously. There are some potential pests and problems. Eastern tent caterpillar. We used to see a lot of these when I was a kid. And those, along with the cherry scallop shell moth, can defoliate, can completely defoliate a tree. And if this happens multiple years in a row, it can actually kill the tree. It'll certainly set it back some. There's a fungal disease called black knot, and it's really common in black cherry. When I was a kid, we see these in the woods and didn't have any idea what they were. Here's a close-up of the elongated, rough black knots on twigs, branches, and trunk. You know, after I've told you it's poisonous, now I'm going to tell you it's delicious. But as long as you're careful, you can. You'll see some links to various recipes, and here's one: black cherry jam that actually uses the whole fruit from a site called fussfreeflavors.com. And you can also, there'll be another recipe from the West Virginia Mountain Mama on how to make jelly. And you can use the juice to make jelly, and then use the leftover fruit pulp to make fruit leather. And there will be a link to a recipe from simplycanning.com on how to do that in the description of the video. There's many health benefits of black cherry. They contain antioxidants, which, you know, helps to protect cells from damage. Polyphenols help with easing inflammation, supporting brain function, and help with memory and learning. A combination of anthocyanins, quercetin, and other nutrients help reduce inflammation. Cherries and cherry juice contain a natural melatonin. You'll see black cherry, the ingredient black cherry, in a variety of over-the-counter medicines for coughs and so forth. Historically, the bark was used to treat tuberculosis, indigestion, bronchitis, and coughs. You can see here that this was from M.A. Grieve, Modern Herbal Volume 1 from 1971. It was also used as an astringent or a drying agent and a sedative. Native Americans also used it for colds, fevers, chills, measles, thrush, laryngitis, worms, burns, and as a blood purifier. Black cherry is a wonderful tree. As I had mentioned, I think when we were out at the site, I've had really good luck finding morels under black cherry trees, at least in this part of the country. So don't count them out as a potential species to find your morels. I really appreciate y'all hanging around and watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't and you find this information helpful, and share and comment. I really would appreciate it. God bless you, God bless your family, and God bless your bees.